Okay, guys, so it is the next day. It is 2nd of July, 2024. Time is about just past 10:30. And so basically after the previous episode, which is about I ended at 3:20, 3:30. From then, I say from about 8 o'clock-ish. So about that much, eight, maybe half eight. I did so for the first half, I was just like going through all the tabs that I have when it comes to like applying for jobs and stuff. I did that for maybe the first hour and a half, and then I got bored. But I was like, there's so many jobs that I want to apply for, so many areas that things I haven't really done like a legit job in terms of like a career job that you can like climb and progress into. So I was like, you know what, let me just get that done out of the way with, and then I will try and redefine it and how and what I want to progress into. And then after that, say let's say 5 o'clock. Yeah, 5 until 8. I did editing, and most of the time editing is just waiting, literally, because my laptop is kind of slow. It's literally just waiting. So and then after 8, I was like, I'm too tired, and then I fell asleep. I made sure that to give me enough sleep, and then whenever I wake my eyes up, I'm gonna continue to do what I need to do throughout the day, which is basically editing the rest of the episodes and going gym, which is basically outside in the park, which is kind of chilling because I'm doing legs today. But to come back to what I was talking about in terms of jobs, basically for me, it's like I can go for like finance jobs, economics jobs, accounting jobs, fintech jobs, or like coding slash development type jobs. My whole thing is I just don't want to go into I just don't want to go into London because that London trek is too long. So by the time I go into London, because I've done it before, by the time I go into London and then I come home, I'm too tired for me able to do what I want to do, which is like record videos and such and such. So, but most of these kind of jobs, such as fintech, coding and developing, I mean, I guess you can find a couple of them, but like in terms of like entry level stuff, most of them are in London. So it kind of cuts down the kind of jobs I want to go for, but which is okay, which makes my life a lot easier. But at the same time, it's like, damn, those jobs are actually kind of exciting, but I have to turn them down because, I want to do what this is. I want to make videos. I want to do this and that. But hey, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? So that's like my job situation, how I'm going about it. I'm really like location savvy, and sometimes I'm just looking at half the jobs and they're all in London. Most of them, I'm just like, ugh. And then so I start applying for them. I'm like, oh my days, man. What if I do get an interview? Then what do I do then? And so I'm just like, I'm just gonna apply for it. Let's just see what happens. I've applied to quite a few places, yeah. And one time I applied to this place, I had like a 9-stage process. I was like, oh my gosh, 9-stage process. And then I got into like stage 4, and I had to give like online answers. And I can't lie, yeah. I was just like, I make door to Allah, yeah. I was like, I can't lie, Allah. If I fail, I make door like I don't get this job yet. And as soon as I did the video thingies, yeah, the video answers, yeah, they cut me off straight away. But can't lie, it did hurt. But then I didn't ask for it, so it's like I can't be mad. It did hurt because I was like, I could have got the job, I didn't. But it's just like 9 stages, yeah, and I have to go in 5 days a week. Do you know how crazy that is, especially in London? That's like 2.5 hours back and forth. That's like 5 hours just commuting, maybe even more. And like at least quarter of your wages literally just goes into travel and transportation because trains are just ridiculous. So I was like, I just can't be asked to go into London. I'd rather spend that same amount of money on my car, like petrol and whatnot, than just going to London. It's too much. And so that's why I was like, you know what, yeah, let me just try and be as close as possible to home, even if it's a bit less of a pay. Because either way, it's like I'm gonna figure something out in terms of making up that money. So I'd rather take the pay cut and whatever job that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's like my whole idea when it comes to looking for a job, and it's hard because most of the jobs that I want to do or I find exciting are in London. I'm just like, oh my gosh, but I don't want to go in. So yeah, it's a battle that I have to always like overcome. But yeah, I'm gonna go hit legs today in the gym. I'm gonna go to the park. Easy. Should be done in I want to try and do it within an hour and a half, which means I'm gonna cut my rest times, which means my legs are gonna be sore and aching. But I guess that's the progression. You know what I mean? That's the progression, and that's me getting used to the pain and the endurance that comes with leg training. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the park.
One of the things Jung wrote about in his works on alchemy was an explanation of the prime alchemical dictum, which was solve coagula, which meant dissolve and integrate. Right, so imagine this. So imagine you had a fairly hostile father who was not very well controlled in his aggression. Decent person other than that, but let's say that. And so your reaction is, I'm never going to be aggressive. And so you've built a moral structure that's part of your personality. And there's possibility floating around outside of that you've denied any ethical, what would you say? You've stripped the idea of aggression of any ethical utility whatsoever. Okay, so what happens? This burns off, and then that comes back up. Now you still have to integrate it. So it's associated in some sense with Nietzsche's idea as morality as cowardice. Because one of Nietzsche's most trenchant critiques of traditional morality, let's say, is that most of what passes for morality isn't morality. It's just cowardice. It's not that I'm a good person and I don't hurt you. It's that I'm afraid to hurt you. And because I don't want to admit that I'm afraid to hurt you, then I say I'm moral, because then I can mask my essential fear and cowardice in a guise of morality. And that happens far more often than you would think, because harmless and moral are by no means the same thing. So some of what you're burning off, you can sit, and this is where Freud was such a genius, I think, is because he concentrated on aggression and sexuality, which are perhaps the two most difficult parts of a personality to integrate. Said that the hyper-simplified morality stops you from tapping into deeper recesses of your psyche. And it's partly because they're primal forces. It's not surprising that you don't want to have anything to do with them, that you stay away from situations where they might make themselves manifest. But the problem is, by denying the worst in yourself in that manner, suppressing it, you preclude the possibility of the best. Because no one can be a good person without integrating their capacity for aggression. Because without that capacity for aggression, you cannot say no. Because no means, if you really say it, no means there isn't anything that you can do to me that will make me change my mind. Or conversely, it means I will play for higher stakes than you will. And unless you've got your aggression integrated, there isn't a chance you can say that. And if you did, no one would take you seriously, because they'd know it was just a show. So one of the most useful things that Jung did, I think, was to work on this idea of the integration of the shadow, because he was really interested in the idea of evil, right? Especially working with trying to parcel out what happened in Nazi Germany and during the Second World War. What do you do with the part of you that's aggressive and potentially malevolent? Do you just crush it? That's the superego response in some sense. Do you just put it behind you, so to speak? Is that a possibility? Or do you admit to its existence and bring it into the game? And that's, see, for Freud, in some sense, morality was superego clamping down on the id. And they were fundamentally opposed. Both Jung and Piaget had a different idea, and I think they were right. It's like, no, you invite the bad guys out to play. And so you're an aggressive hockey player, but it's disciplined aggression. That gives you access to a whole sorts of energy you wouldn't otherwise have. And then with regards to sexuality, it's like, well, untrammeled promiscuity doesn't constitute a virtue, but neither does unavoidable virginity, right? In fact, I think that's worse, because it also masks itself with virtue. It's like, well, you should be able to do things that you wouldn't do. That's like the definition of a genuinely moral person. They could do it, they don't. We also like to go watch stories about horrible psychopathic thugs, you know, and hopefully we're learning not to be like them, although there are additional advantages in that, you know, someone who, you might be say that someone who is incapable of cruelty is a higher moral being than someone who is capable of cruelty, and I would say, and this follows Jung as well, that that's incorrect, and it's dangerously incorrect, because if you are not capable of cruelty, you are absolutely a victim to anyone who is. And so part of the reason that people go watch anti-heroes and villains is because there's a part of them crying out for the incorporation of the monster within them, which is what gives them strength of character and self-respect, because it's impossible to respect yourself until you grow teeth. And if you grow teeth, then you realize that you're somewhat dangerous, and or maybe somewhat seriously dangerous, and then you might be more willing to demand that you treat yourself with respect and other people do the same thing. And so that doesn't mean that being cruel is better than not being cruel. What it means is that being able to be cruel and then not being cruel is better than not being able to be cruel. Because in the first case, you're nothing but weak and naive. And in the second case, you're dangerous, but you have it under control. And you know, a lot of martial arts concentrate on exactly that as part of their philosophy of training. It's like, we're not training you to fight. We're training you to be peaceful and awake and avoid fights. But if you happen to have to get in one, and I guess the philosophy also is that if you're competent at fighting, that actually decreases the probability that you're going to have to fight, because when someone pushes you, you'll be able to respond with confidence, and with any luck, and this is certainly the case with bullies, with any luck, a reasonable show of confidence, which is very much equivalent to a show of dominance, is going to be enough to make the bully back off. And so the strength that you develop in your monstrousness is actually the best guarantee of peace. And that's partly why Jung believed that it was necessary for people to integrate their shadow. And he said that was a terrible thing for people to attempt, because the human shadow, which is all those things about yourself that you don't want to realize, reaches all the way to hell. And what he meant by that was, it's through an analysis of your own shadow that you can come to understand why other people are capable, and you as well, of the sorts of terrible atrocities that characterized, let's say, the 20th century. And without that understanding, there's no possibility of bringing it under control. When you study Nazi Germany, for example, or you study the Soviet Union, particularly under Stalin, and you're asking yourself, well, what are these perpetrators like? Forget about the victims, let's talk about the perpetrators. The answer is, they're just like you. And if you don't know that, that just means that you don't know anything about people, including yourself. And then it also means that you have to discover why they're just like you. And believe me, that's no picnic. So that's enough to traumatize people, and that's partly why they don't do it. And it's also partly why the path to enlightenment and wisdom is seldom trod upon, because if it was all a matter of following your bliss and doing what made you happy, then everyone in the world would be a paragon of wisdom. But it's not that at all. It's a matter of facing the thing you least want to face. Yeah, that's what happens to Geppetto in the belly of the whale. He's so caught in his presuppositions that he can't escape, right? And so Pinocchio represents the new force. So it's very interesting. So when you watch Pinocchio try to rescue him, the first thing Geppetto does is confuse Pinocchio with a fish, because he wants something to eat. But Pinocchio is better than something to eat because he can rescue him so he doesn't need to eat. And then Pinocchio wants to make a fire, and Geppetto objects because he's going to burn up all the furniture. It's like, we don't need the damn furniture if we're getting out of the whale, you know? And so Geppetto, and he's old, so that's the rigid structure. That's the old year that has to die off before the new year can be born. It's a forest fire that allows for new growth, and that's how those things are put together. And see, and it's useful to know too, because if you burn something off, you might think, well, there's nothing left. It's like, that's not true. If it's dead wood, then you have room for new growth. And you want to be doing that on a fairly regular basis. That's the snake that sheds its skin and transforms itself, right? That's the death and resurrection from a psychological perspective. It's exactly the same idea. Now, we don't know the upper limit to that, right? Because we don't know what a person would be like if they let everything that they could let go, and only let in what was seemly, let's say. But you can see that. It's funny. We don't know that to some degree. You can see people start to do that without, that's not a rare experience. And people improve very rapidly. They can improve their lives very rapidly. A lot of it's low-hanging fruit. Like if you just stop doing really stupid things that you know are stupid, your life improves a lot. So, and it frees you up. It also means there's an element there that's also associated with pride. Because people tend to take pride in who they are, and that's a bad idea because that stops you from becoming who you could be. Because if you're proud of who you are, you won't let that go when it's necessary. You won't step away from it. And then you end up being your own parody, something like that. That's also a very bad idea. You want to be continually stepping away from your previous self. And so, and I guess part of that too is that you have to decide, are you order? Are you chaos? Or are you the process that mediates between them? And if you're the process that mediates between them, you are the thing that transforms. And that's the right attitude for a human being because that's what we are. We're the thing that voluntarily confronts chaos and transforms. That's what we are. And so for better or worse, that's our deepest biological essence, you might say. And so you can let things go if you know that there's more growth to come. So, yeah.
Okay, guys, so it is the end of the episode, and it is the next day. I was so tired from waking up early and doing all of this and that, I just couldn't do the outro. So it is the 3rd of July, and it is raining, so I'm going to end it quick as I can. But depending on what thingy that I use, like, this is the message to my cousin, Tam, but for everyone else, it's like, there's going to be loads of setbacks, there's going to be loads of challenges. But like I said, like I always say, every situation is an opportunity, and just take it. Like with Tam, I know you have to be listening. If you're not listening, I'll literally find you. I know where you live, so don't even try and hide. But no, like I was saying to you, like you rather learn your lesson now when you're young than learn it later in life, because like you know how to get 3K subs. I'm still on that journey, and yet you hit 3K subs at the age of 14. Like you should be proud of yourself, alhamdulillah, man. So you know what to do. You've been on the grind. You know how to do it. Only thing you need to do is just replicate that again, and you'll achieve 3K and more. You know what I mean? It just comes to hard work. Like I said with Ronaldo, yeah, he missed the penalty, but he came back again, and he's the first person to take it. Imagine missing the penalty, in a major tournament which you need to score to get through to the next stage of the competition. You missed the penalty, and you're like, damn. Like you're emotionally like all over the place right now. But guess what? Yeah, he cried for a little bit, but then he composed himself again and he scored again. Like that takes courage, that takes balls, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are the moments where goats become goats. And so we're all gonna have our struggles, we're all gonna have our personal struggles that we're gonna have to overcome. But it's moments like these where we have the choice of like whether we give up and cry about it, or do we just take it on the chin and be like, okay, how can I move forward from this situation? So like I'm saying to Tam, your YouTube got banned, closed, or whatever, but don't worry, it's always a lesson to be learned. And if you keep taking that and you keep going with the courage, like, I'm gonna improve, I'm gonna do things the way it should be done without trying to, get thinking again, bro, you'll surpass your original account.
as well as me and as well as everyone else who's listening. You know, we gotta just keep going, keep trying. And I don't want to take up any more time for me anyway, because it's raining, so perfect time to make dua. And so I'll see you guys in the next episode. Do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, sub, do all that YouTube algorithms and stuff, and take care and peace, guys.